Lloyd and Javier ride with Gaming going to the planned location. Javier said, "Wouldn't it be easier to ask the Dragon King to send us to the Merman Kingdom?" Lloyd replied, "My goodness, you are so bad at managing social relationships." Lloyd said, "He is someone so fearsome that he could kill us with a flick of his finger. There is a certain line that we need to tread even if we want to act up. And I already have enough hints about the Merman Kingdom. The first destination is the commerce city of Creo, which Lloyd was able to save in the past. The Merman Kingdom mentioned in the novel is said to be hidden somewhere in the harshest of seas. The harshest sea would be the northern sea of the Laurasia continent. It is a place that the whaling ships that depart Creo port often visit. Their search for the Merman Kingdom begins here. The city of Creo was bustling with activity. Ships were arguing over who would be able to dock first at the port, while others were angry that they were blocking spaces where they could park their ships. One seller was carrying bowls from Asfahan, saying that due to the influx of supplies, their prices today are at their best. Lloyd was looking at the surroundings, and he was amazed that the place he saved becomes so lively. In his mind, in the novel, this city was devastated because of a gigatodon. Count Creo, who had helped Javier previously, fell into distress. The streets were full of children begging and homeless people. As Lloyd looked into it, the scene was vastly different from the tragic fate written in the novel. The families in Creo City were happy, with people and workers joyfully talking and socializing with one another. Lloyd's face starts frowning. His body starts shaking and tears fall off from his eyes. He was clenching his fist from what he saw. In his mind, "I am the one that made this city a happy one. I knew this would happen, but now that I am seeing it in person, it turns my stomach upside down. I should have asked for more rewards." Looking at Lloyd, who was crying while his snot was running into his nose, made Javier take a deep sigh, and he smiled, thinking to himself, "I knew it. You are warm at heart." But of course, Javier is just misunderstanding something. There is no way for our MC to be happy by seeing the expression of the people. He would be happier if he could gain profit. In Lloyd's mind, "This is all thanks to me. I should have asked for processing fees. Just 2% more would be enough. No, even 1% would have been fine." In the office of Count Creo, he greeted Lloyd well, the hero of his town. He was tapping Lloyd's back because of happiness. He even carries him like a baby. Count Creo said, "Sir Lloyd, it has been so long. Our hero, the savior of Creo. You are totally not my type. No matter how many times I look at you, you definitely aren't my type." Lloyd told him that actually, he was there because he had a favor to ask him. Count Creo starts to wonder what it is. Now for the serious talk, Count Creo asks him, "You want to hire a whaling ship because you need to go to the Merman Kingdom?" Lloyd replied, "Yes, I know that this sounds ridiculous, but I have my reasons." Count Creo told him that was not what he meant. Count Creo said, "We have one exceptionally skilled ship captain, but he is famous for having a serious case of mythomania. He said he went to the Merman Kingdom when he was young. That is what he would do as he drinks. If you are fine with a weirdo like that, I will introduce you to him." Hearing that made Lloyd think positively. He smiled and clenched his fist. In his mind, this is going surprisingly well, isn't it? This is so easy. Javier and Lloyd go to the Creo port to find that weirdo ship captain. The ship captain said, "Oh, do you mean how did I get invited into the Merman Kingdom? I just sang. Mermen determine whether you are a friend or a foe by just singing." At first, there was no reaction from Lloyd, except for Javier, whose eyebrows started to furrow in concern. But after the thought sinks in, Lloyd starts cursing while Javier is waving his head since it is a major problem. Lloyd said, "What the F did you say? Is there any other method?" Then Lloyd starts to point at Javier and asks the captain if Javier could just sing instead of him. The captain replied, "Someone as handsome as him would definitely get invited. But you won't be able to enter." Lloyd told the captain that he was not very confident in his singing abilities. Javier told him that saying that he is not very confident in his singing voice is just an understatement. But of course, we know Lloyd was just humble because he was someone known as the greatest singer in hell. The captain laughs at him. He said, "I think you are mistaken about something. I fell into the water as I was looking at the sea when I was young. The ship didn't know I fell into the water and left quickly. At that time, the mermen appeared. I was very scared. They really looked like no joke. Their bodies, damn, they were serious." The captain proudly said, "The pressure that came from them felt like they could snap my neck in a flash. That is when I remember what my grandfather told me. If we sing to the mermen, then we can prove that we are not their enemies." How good do you think my singing would have been? It was just a series of horrible outcries. At first, the mermen frowned as if they hated my singing, but after that, they smiled. What merman hears aren't tunes or beats. They hear the truthful feelings. As he heard the word truthful feelings, it made him think about the Count and the Countess. Also, his brother Julian and his wife Sarazad. He also thinks about his men, including Senior Knight Byron, Greg, the sheet-annihilating dragon Solista, Arash, and Malika. Tords was also there, but they did him dirty and only his hair can be seen. Lloyd's face became so serious. He said, "I would like to borrow your ship. Please guide us to the vicinity of the Merman Kingdom." The ship captain replied, "This won't do. This isn't the season to catch whales." In Lloyd's mind, at first, there were no emotions involved. "I just wanted to earn money and fill my own stomach, but money isn't important right now." Lloyd shows the pouch of gold to the captain. The captain grabbed that pouch of gold since he also likes money like the MC and told Lloyd that they will be going to depart in 10 minutes. A month later, the captain told them that they were now at the said location. In that full moon, Lloyd was standing this wooden thing in front of the boat called bowsprit. This bastard thinks that he is Peter Pan at this time. In his mind, "I intentionally took the ship for 1 month to get here instead of riding Gaming or Yang Yang, because the merman might have felt threatened. I am that desperate." The coincidental smile that I gave to the people. We should have been sad originally. The ship captain said, "The mermen must have surrounded our ship by now. The mermen are really alert to the invaders after all." Lloyd didn't say anything and just looked at them. Maybe it was a sign that he was about to sing his true feelings to the merman. Javier thinks that the captain is right. He feels that there are over thousands of mermen at the bottom of their ship. Lloyd raised his hand and was about to sing his true feelings. In his mind, "The happy fates of my people. I will protect them. Merman, please help me." Then he starts singing. This guy thinks that he is Ariel from The Little Mermaid. The mermen look at Lloyd while singing with all of his heart. By the glare of the mermaids, I don't know if they like the song or not, but maybe it was from the reflection of the full moon. Lloyd started raising both of his hands, confidently singing his true feelings. The mermen were so focused on him. Looking at Lloyd, who sings with all of his heart, made Javier think, "So these are your true feelings, Kim Suho." But while the mermen were listening to the golden voice of Lloyd Frontera, who was considered as the greatest singer in hell, they felt as if their eardrums had burst, blood spluttering out from them from just Lloyd's voice. Bro's pitch must be too high, which made the eardrums of mermen splattered. Then an arrow spear was thrown away at the bowsprit of the boat, which made it break down. The leader of the merman was so angry that her veins were about to burst. She shouted, "That is a declaration of war. Attack!" Then a lot of arrow spears were thrown at them. Bro's face was once become a sign of a declaration of war in Asfahan, and now in Merman's Kingdom, his voice is also considered as a declaration of war. The crew of the ship shouted and said that they needed to run away. The captain ordered his men to turn the ship around while shouting from the raining arrow spears. Lloyd became a Spider-Man hanging on the wall of the boat. He shouts at the captain, "Hey old man, didn't you say singing with a sincere heart would work?" But the ship captain punches Lloyd in the face, calling him a crazy bastard. The ship captain shouted, "You crazy bastard. I told you to sing. I didn't tell you to chant curses, did I?" Lloyd's face completely became uglier from that punch. He bit his lower lip while crying because of it. But men, they did Lloyd dirty, turning him into a laughing stock, even though he only sings his true feelings. But only Sigma could understand his true voice. Still, Lloyd is the best. Going back, Javier unsheathes his sword to ready himself into the battle. Javier said, "Your true feelings were the invasion of the Merman Kingdom? You are unbelievable." Lloyd angrily shouted, "Don't you do something instead of getting on my nerves." Javier fly above the air to prepare to defend. Lloyd shouted at him, "We must not attack the merman. Buy us time to create an opportunity for us to turn around the ship and run." Javier replied, "It is easy for you to say that." But while Javier was in mid-air, their leader was alarmed to see Javier. The leader raises her hand. She said, "Stop the attack. All of you stop the attack." Lloyd was confused and started to question his mind about what was happening and why did they stop attacking. The leader started to point her hand at Javier. Javier was silent and didn't know what they were about to do. The leader told Javier that he passed and then made the heart sign together with the other merman while blushing. Javier was silent with his poker face. Then he looked at Lloyd. He saw Lloyd crying, tears even streaming from his nose as he sobbed. Maybe because even though he sings with all of his feelings, he only receives ridicule and gets thrown by arrow spears, while Javier, on the other hand, doesn't do anything but show his face, and they say that he already passed. In Lloyd's mind, a cursed world, you can die for all I care. Javier goes down to talk to the merman. He asks, I pass? Does that mean I'm invited to the Merman Kingdom? The leader of the merman soldiers replied, yes, that's right. Javier said, I'm thankful for that, but why the sudden invitation? The merman starts fixing and waving his hair like she is seducing his husband. Then she points her hands at Javier while blushing. She says, that is because of your face. Javier looked at the merman and said that he knew that it was because of his face. Lloyd's face turns into a sigma and he says that Javier is batshit crazy. Damn! Merman starts to become a simp at Javier's face. Javier lowers down and talks to the merman leader. He says, I hear that mermaids are able to discern the true feelings of those who sing. The head of the merman replied, that is when we are touched by the person singing. She was blushing and said, your face has the same effect, so we don't care about your singing. Javier agreed to what the merman leader said and told them that it was true that his face is capable of doing that. Lloyd looks at Javier with disgust. In his mind, someone like him is the novel's protagonist, huh? He disgusts me. Javier looks back at his master and he says, my face was able to stop the violent situation caused by your singing. Lloyd replied, I heard him go down already. Lloyd bowed down to the merman captain and he said, hello, I am Lloyd Frontera, the person who is hiring this night over here. But that merman leader starts to look at Lloyd with disgust, seeing that reaction like they are looking at some sheet. In Lloyd's mind, wow, look at him completely change his attitude. She is not ashamed of how she's discriminating with looks at all. But for Lloyd, he will let that pass because he needs to be in their favor now. Lloyd bows down and said, first of all, I would like to express my endless gratitude for inviting us to the Merman Kingdom. The leader of the merman soldiers looked at Lloyd with disgust once again while raising her hand. She told Lloyd that no one invited him to go to the Merman Kingdom. But Lloyd already predicted that he will not be invited into that kingdom that only values handsome people. In his mind, I knew she would say that. I Kim Suho, I'm a man who makes things happen. I will figure out what they are lacking. I will dig them out, negotiate, and come up as the one who holds the reins of the negotiation. Javier, as the knight of Lloyd Frontera, asks the merman. He said, is he still not invited even if I ask nicely? The merman starts blushing and tells Javier that there is no reason for her to deny Lloyd from entering the kingdom if Javier was the one who is asking. Lloyd and Javier become silent, but Lloyd looks down this time because of the difference in the treatment between him and his handsome bodyguard. Javier looks at Lloyd and tears come out of Lloyd's eyes. Lloyd wipes out the tears in his eyes. He said, I think it is because of the salt in the breeze. My eyes are feeling dry. Javier looks at Lloyd with pity. In his mind, to think that he has to work hard in life because of his face. Please hang in there. The leader of the merman soldiers put the necklace on Javier gracefully with joy. She said, all right, here it is, a necklace that will enable you to breathe underwater and it will protect you from the water pressure and the water's cold temperature. But on the other hand, there is a different treatment for the MC. They throwed the necklace at Lloyd's face. They did the MC dirty. If Lloyd chooses to create a villainous arc and lead the demons who treat him as their role model in this story, I won't blame him because of this harsh treatment. Going back, while they were swimming underwater, the mermen were peeking at Javier while blushing. On the other hand, in Lloyd's mind, in any case we got invited to the Merman Kingdom. Me feeling sad doesn't matter. What matters is that I find the truth jewel, as long as I can protect everything in my territory. But while they are diving deeper, a bright light underwater starts to appear. Lloyd starts to question his mind, why there is a light so deep underwater. And as they dive towards the light, he is alarmed to see something. It was a very large octopus holding the kingdom of the mermaids. Lloyd starts sweating in his mind. An octopus? It looks like it was getting bigger, but isn't it at the size of a city? The curious Lloyd tries to ask the merman about the octopus, but the same discrimination was received by him and there was no response from the merman at all. So, Javier was the one who asks the merman about the octopus. The merman replied, "It is the guardian octopus that protects the Merman Kingdom. It has been with us since long ago." As they arrived at the Merman Kingdom palace, the merman told them that it was their palace and they needed to first visit the king and pay their respect to him. In the palace, Lloyd and Javier start to kneel down in the presence of the king who is sitting on her throne. The king said, "Welcome, handsome human and ugly human. I am the king of the merman, Ariel. Now, Ariel from The Little Mermaid is now the king of the mermaids." Lloyd whispers to Javier, "Hey handsome human, tell them that you want to borrow the truth jewel." Javier replied, "I am the expert when it comes to faces. You should do the talking." Lloyd told Javier that he didn't have the right to talk in that place. King Ariel laughs after he hears what Lloyd says. She said, "Don't worry, ugly human. I won't punish you even though you have a horrifying face. Speak, but do not look at me." Hearing that, in Lloyd's mind, that doesn't sound like a joke. What you are doing is really cruel. There is no other choice for Lloyd but to follow it. He moves his face away from the king. He said, "I, Lloyd Frontera, have come here in search of the truth jewel. If you could lend me a truth jewel." After the king heard the word about the truth jewel, King Ariel started to laugh out loud, which made Lloyd anxious. King Ariel, who can't stop laughing, said, "If it really exists, I would gladly lend it to you. If we do have the truth jewel, which has only been talked about since the mythical times." Hearing that made Lloyd shocked. He was asking what? King Ariel asks, "It is basically a legend. Did you come here thinking that it might still be here?" Lloyd, who was anxious about what he heard, said, "The Dragon King said that the truth jewel is in the Merman Kingdom." King Ariel replied, "The Dragon King? That lazy sleepyhead? You are as foolish as you look. There is no way he would have told you the full details." Lloyd in the end starts to cry and starts cursing the Dragon King, saying that he is a packing dragon. King Ariel said, "You look pretty desperate. How about asking our guardian octopus? It has existed since the mythical times." Hearing that made Lloyd shocked. He asks if that octopus can talk. King Ariel replied, "Of course not. What kind of octopus can talk? You really are an idiot." The insult of King Ariel hit the nerve of Lloyd. At this moment we knew that the god of negotiation skills of Lloyd is in cool down and was not in effect. But Lloyd was still positive at this time. He said, "To sum things up, the truth jewel existed in the mythical times and it is not a made-up story, right?" King Ariel said, "Who knows? Our ancestors told us that it did exist, but nobody in our generation has seen it before." Lloyd smiled because that meant that the chances of it existing were not zero. For Lloyd, if there is even a 0.1% chance, he will do whatever he can to confirm it. That is because his specialty is persistence. Lloyd told the Merman King that he would like to ask for another favor. King Ariel asks, "What is it?" Lloyd replied, "Please allow us to search for the truth jewel. If we do find it, you will only stand to benefit." King Ariel said, "Well, it doesn't matter, since we can get to see more of the handsome human while you are here." For Lloyd, it was awesome since he received a positive response. King Ariel said, "However, we cannot help you. We've got a huge problem on our hand, so it is quite a headache for me." Lloyd, who was curious, asks, "What problem is that?" King Ariel told Lloyd that a while ago, a hell gate opened on top of their seas. Hearing that made the face of Lloyd into some freaking son of a sheet because he was the one and main culprit of the problem of the merman. King Ariel said, "The heat of hell is greatly affecting the North Pole. At this rate, all the glaciers will be melted. This freaking bastard caused a climate change in the North Pole." The angry king said, "Whoever did that deserves to be shredded to pieces." Lloyd was acting like he was very angry at the demonic culprit who did that. He said, "What a jerk, for such a villain to exist. A true packer." Javier just looks at Lloyd and was speechless while looking at his master, who still has the audacity to be angry at the culprit when in fact he was the one who made it. King Ariel, at this time, was very angry, as veins in her body could be seen. She said, "We even saw a bone dragon entering and leaving the Hell Gate. That bastard who opened the gate is definitely a villain who is on par with the demons." Little did the king know that the culprit was a villain that is not on par but the role model of the demons. Lloyd becomes serious like he is proposing to his fiancée. He confidently said, out of the grateful heart that I have for you, allowing us to search for the truth jewel. I, Lloyd Frontera, promise you this. If I find that person, I will definitely cut their head off and offer it to you." Hearing that made Javier sweat. He was amazed about the guts of his master. In his mind, his shamelessness is on a level that surpasses the laws of the world. At the top of the palace looking at the whole Merman Kingdom, Lloyd said, "Javier, let's go and find the truth jewel." Javier asks, "What do you intend to do?" Lloyd with a serious face said, "We will gather whatever information we can and search for it from place to place. There are times when the simplest methods are the fastest ones." Javier told him that he was not talking about that, he was talking about the Hell Gate. But Lloyd will not do anything that doesn't give him benefits. He didn't mind what Javier told him. He said, "Just bear this in mind. We must find the truth jewel for the Count, the Countess, and everyone else." Hearing that in Javier's mind, "You have always done things for a reason. I am sure what we are doing is something that is needed." But aside from that, Javier still continues to talk him out about the Hell Gate. But Lloyd, on the other hand, was saying that they were going to come to the Jewel of Truth. On a very cold and dark night in Magentano Kingdom, the queen was on his bed and was on her knees while looking out the window. She was actually in agony from the poison he got from one of her fights with a dark magician. The poison is slowly spreading in her body. She grits her teeth and puts strength in her hand because she didn't plan to succumb to this poison. In her mind, in order to sit on the throne, I have caused even my family and siblings to bleed. I refuse to lose to some poison. As a swordmaster, she starts to gather energy to counter the poison and control where it is going, but even for her, the poison is too potent. She starts to put more effort into gathering energy to move the poison only in one of her arms. But she starts to bow down from the intense pain and she was shouting in agony. She looks at her hand, which large nerves are showing from the poison. Her hand was shaking from the poison. In her mind, "Good. It is moving. I will move all the poison in one of my arms and then cut it off." As someone who sits upon the throne, sacrificing something like this to retain my sanity is a natural decision. As she looked at her hand, Queen Alicia felt something different. In her mind, "How strange. Have I gone crazy already? Why do I miss that potato guy at times like this?" Maybe while looking at her hand, Queen Alicia missed slapping the butt of Lloyd. Meanwhile, this potato head person was trying to scam some merman in some of his questions. Lloyd asks, "Oh my, you have such a great energy. Do you perhaps believe in the truth jewel?" But since being ugly was discriminated by the merman, he asks the merman and that merman starts to get angry looking at his face. The merman angrily said, "Whoa, what the hell? I thought a sea cucumber was speaking. Even if I did believe in it before, I would doubt even the existence of the universe now." But since only disrespect and no concrete answer was received by Lloyd, Javier with his handsome face was the one who asked the merman if they knew something about the truth jewel. One of the female mermen starts blushing and replies, "I am not sure, but I know of a lunatic that talks about finding that jewel." "Oh, but I am not saying that you are a lunatic, handsome." The mermen were whispering with one another while being romantically excited. They are saying that a handsome lunatic would be good. Javier asks them about the location of the merman that is searching for the truth jewel. The merman replied, "If you go there." "No, wait a minute. Please follow me. I will guide you to the lunatic's house personally." Lloyd, on the other hand, was not happy in the different treatment that they had on him from his knight Javier. This is a manhwa where the MC is downgraded by the supporting character. Going back, Javier looks back at Lloyd. He said, "Sorry for making you feel inferior." Lloyd's tears burst out, but his face was still the same. He said, "What? I am perfectly fine though. What are you talking about?" Javier told him that he is crying though. Lloyd replied, "I am not. How could I cry when I am in underwater? Makes sense, would you?" Javier said, "Now that you mentioned it, that is true. But the thing that's flowing out from your eyes." Lloyd asks Javier to just turn a blind eye to what he has seen about his master crying. Now they go to the place where SpongeBob lives. I mean the place where lunatic who talk about the truth jewel live. And out of all the mermen who discriminated against Lloyd, this is the only merman who gladly welcomes him. He said, "Are you guys really interested in the truth jewel too? Are you going to join me in my search for the jewel?" Then a notification pops up saying that friendliness with Merman Rotulua is now available, with a stat of 16. Going back, Lloyd was confused about the friendly behavior of Rotulua. He said, "No, we are not saying that we will help you immediately. We just want to know how much you know." Lloyd starts to question in his mind, why is the friendliness stat appearing on our first meeting? It is only supposed to be available when someone is completely on my side. With full conviction, Rotulua said, "Our family has been searching for the truth jewel for generations. We stayed firm in our search through the generations no matter how many people mocked us. To be precise, up until the second mythical era when the world only had spring and summer, the truth jewel definitely existed in the sea." Hearing what he said made Lloyd thinking something. In his mind, aha, it seems he is this friendly because he finally met a comrade and they have been searching for it all this time. This is progressing smoothly. Rotulua said, "But 10,000 years ago, during the end of the Great Race War, the truth jewel crumbled." Hearing that made Lloyd shocked. Lloyd asks, "Wait, what do you mean crumbled? Are you saying there is nothing left to it?" Rotulua replied, "Oh, not even the merman knows this information, but the truth jewel is a building. A building with a complicated construction of mana, bricks, and pillars. The power of that mana is what gives the building the ability to think and give answers." Listening to what Rotulua said, Lloyd somewhat gets the gist about the truth jewel. In his mind, I see. The truth jewel is like a huge computer. The difference is that it runs on mana instead of electricity. But if it is crumbled, then there is something that must be left in there. Rotulua said, "That is why I am looking for the site of the truth jewel, because somewhere in that site, we will be able to find the blueprints of the truth jewel." Listening to that caught the attention of Lloyd. In his mind, the truth jewel that seemed like an illusion is starting to have a real silhouette. I will hang on and move forward. Lloyd, who thinks positively about this, even starts to question Rotulua about the location of the excavation site. While they are walking going to the place of the excavation site, an old muscular merman they met while they were passing by starts to insult Rotulua. He said, "That bastard is just like his grandfather. He doesn't do the swimming training that he is supposed to do yet. His is going to dig again. That is why you are so darn skinny, you brat." Rotulua starts pointing his finger at the old man and angrily shouted, "Mind your own business. And all you talked about is muscle, muscle, muscle. To hell with it. Do you know why mermen get arthritis once they are past the age of 40? It is because you guys swim so damn much. Your muscles keeps growing, but your insides are festering." He told the old merman that he lived enough and he should just stop nagging and need to get lost already. But while Rotulua was smacking the body of the old man felt that he was being massaged by Rotulua, who is not that much muscular. The old man told him that he is sending him to paradise and it feels so amazing. In the end, the old merman's soul came out of his body from that attack, which is like a massage of Rotulua. Rotulua angrily told Lloyd that it was how he was treated by the merman. He was treated like an idiot. Lloyd asks, "You said your predecessors have been searching for the jewel as well, right? Why haven't you guys found it yet?" As they looked at the area, Rotulua said, "That is because the northern sea is way too vast." Rotulua pointed at the holes and told Lloyd that those were the ones he had dug up, all of them. He also shows Lloyd the exploration map and tells him that there are 100 more of such maps. Rotulua proudly said that he is so meticulous in doing the digging, but for Lloyd, he was a complete idiot. In his mind, "You crazy bastard. Even if millions of years have passed and merman evolved and grew wings, you still wouldn't find it." Lloyd used his skill to scan the area. In his mind, but is there a method to find it other than by digging? These sedimentary layers have accumulated for over 10,000 years, so it is pointless to scan it. He starts to think seriously. In his mind, what if I get Javier to blast the seafloor? No, we could destroy the blueprint by mistake and it would be a great waste. Podong and the others cannot work underwater. If I call Yang Yang here, a war with the Merman Kingdom will break out. The only way would be for a huge number of people to dig and find it. If I can make use of that incredible physique that the merman has. Lloyd starts to get angry because the method he wants to use is a method he doesn't like at all. He called Javier. Javier asks him what does he wants. Although this hurt the pride of Lloyd Frontera, right now he has no choice but to ask Javier. He told Javier to bewitch the merman and get them to be their laborers. Javier followed Lloyd and started to seduce the merman, but in the end, it was not successful. The merman said, "Sorry, handsome human. All our time is spent on training our muscles for swimming." In the blink of an eye, all mermen started to leave, and there was nothing left. Javier was sweating because his handsome face was useless at this time. The revenge was too great, and they made the MC score points at this time. This time, the last laugh was on Lloyd Frontera. He was bursting into laughter while pointing his finger at Javier. He said, "Look at your grumpy face. Where is your confidence now? That face isn't that of a big deal." And after teasing Javier, he starts laughing once again. But a few moments later, even Lloyd starts to have a negative expression because the operation to bewitch and find laborers failed. He could only curse on his mind because what happened is driving him nuts. While walking at the excavation site, Lloyd was thinking deeply about how to find a perfect solution for his problem. In his mind, how are we supposed to dig up such a vast piece of seafloor? How many years would this even take? In 3 years' time, all the unfortunate fates will start to occur. We don't have much time. I need to do something. Then while walking, Javier notices something. He said, "The temperature of this area is pretty hot. Is it because of that?" Lloyd looked at what Javier was referring to and he said, that is known as the hot water palace. Waters that go into deeper depth would get heated by magma and come back out as that." But looking at the hot water palace, a sudden idea that makes Lloyd's eyes widen. He remembers that time when Rotulua was shouting saying that mermen get arthritis once they reach 40 because they swim a lot. For Lloyd, right now, he found the best solution. He stops and smiles like a demon. He said, "Javier, let us build a sauna here." In his mind, that sauna of devilishness will be able to turn the merman into his slaves. Kim Suho woke up from his slumber, then he felt intense body aches in his body. When he looks outside to prepare for work, the weather conditions are not good because the rain is pouring outside. His body was continuously aching and he started massaging it. He said, "Damn it, this is a bit serious." In his mind, labor pays more than you think, but that doesn't mean I made a lot of money. There are many reasons why I didn't make a lot. Of course, my body condition is one of the reasons. Because he realized that the rain wouldn't stop, he started questioning his mind. The exam period is over. Shall I take a rest today? Then a random guy appeared with an umbrella that the brand is St. Lloyd, and then he looked at Kim Suho arrogantly. He said, "Oh, my friend, why do you look so sad?" He glares at this guy and starts cursing in his mind. Kim Suho's friend said, "Hey, if you have nothing to do, what about going out to a sauna with me?" Kim Suho asks, "What do you mean sauna?" His friend arrogantly replied, "It is raining. Won't you get sick if you go to work in a weather like this? Let's go and change the mood, okay?" Kim Suho didn't know what ran in this guy's mind, which is why he remained silent for a second while glaring at him. Then Kim Suho looked away and said, "Oh, I don't have any money to get to a sauna." This guy then smirked at Kim Suho and he said, "Man, do you think that I don't know that you don't have any money?" Kim Suho remained silent while looking at him. Then his friend was somewhat looking down at him based on his expression. He said, "I have a part-time job at the sauna. That way you will feel hot all day for free." Kim Suho asks, "You are from a rich family, so why are you working part-time?" His friend laughs and replies, "It is one of my mom's saunas. I am going to help you out from today." Kim Suho starts gritting his teeth because of what this guy is saying. This guy looked back and he told Kim Suho, "Stop talking. Hurry up and follow me." This guy shares his umbrella with Kim Suho and he says, "Your shoulders are wet, dude. Get closer." Kim Suho's face starts to get serious. In his mind, you purposely, on the day the exams ended, you started working at a sauna, and it happened that you showed up at the early morning time exactly when I usually go out from work. Do you think I am a fool? His friend looked at him and said, "Don't tell me you don't even have money to buy an umbrella. Take this later. Lol." But for Kim Suho, this guy was an angel because he knows that this guy wanted just to hang out with him. Together with his friend, they entered the sauna and his friend even prepared food for them. Kim Suho was lying in there feeling relaxed. In his mind, this is heaven. The stiff muscles and ligaments were gently loosened. I feel like my frozen blood started to move finally. This unexplainable and very good feeling. It is like the mysterious cycle of the universe and the feeling of being one. Going back, Lloyd, Frontera, and Javier are now ready to build the sauna and bait down these mermen who are suffering from arthritis. He looks at the merman who are holding their aching body. In his mind, there is a plenty of demand. There are a lot of mermaids here and there that have arthritis and muscle aches. It is a natural result of just swimming like crazy in the enormous water pressure of the deep sea. He smiled as a new idea came in his head. In his mind, I have made plans for everything. I will call it the Mermaids Kingdom Great Fishing Project. Then they go to the house of Rotulua to plan everything. Rotulua asks, do you want to build a steam bath? Is it an indoor facility that provides massage? Lloyd replied, yes, that is right. There is no better facility than this for mermaids who suffer from arthritis. Rotulua was confused, so he asks, what does that have to do with the excavation of the Jewel of Truth? Lloyd replied, we have to increase our manpower. It is impossible for the three of us to dig up all the large areas. Rotulua said, I don't know, but it is going to be a little hard. Mermaids are scared of steam. Lloyd is confused and asks Rotulua what he means. Rotulua starts explaining. He said, did you see the hot chimney on the ground? Until recently, some mermaids were succumbed to the temptation of high temperatures. The bodies burned near it, and then they met their demise. For some reason, they lost their minds and were swept to that hot place and burned to death. Therefore, a law was put in place to prevent mermaids from approaching that hot chimney. Lloyd understood what Rotulua was saying, but he was still smiling. In his mind, the water in the hot water vent contains heavy metals, so this makes sense, but it is not a problem at all. Lloyd smiled and told Rotulua that the hot chimneys would solve all those problems. Construction of the steam bath has begun. Step 1. Prepare the steam bath site. Lloyd said, all right, I will build the steam bath here. Javier asks, isn't it too far from the vent? Lloyd replied, it must be far away. Isn't safety the most important thing? Lloyd then uses his skill to start summoning the design plan. A building guide appeared in the cave that Lloyd was planning to use for building his sauna. Lloyd starts moving to leave the area. Lloyd said, dig according to the instructions. I will go get the materials. Javier just unsheathes his sword and starts following Lloyd without question, cutting the area based on the instruction. Before leaving, he looks back at Javier. Lloyd said, wait, you are too obedient. Isn't that strange? May I ask? Javier replied, yes. What? Lloyd said, aren't you curious why do we search for the Jewel of Truth? And what if we don't find it? How do we know what will happen? Javier didn't say anything for a second. Javier starts to continue what he is doing. He said, hurry up and bring the materials, please. If we don't hurry, won't that pose a danger to the area? Lloyd starts moving. Before leaving, he called Javier and said, thank you, I really mean it. Both of them remain silent after Lloyd gives his sincere thanks. And after that, both of them start vomiting because they cannot resist the cringiness of that moment. These two should be the ones meant to be together in the end. Now is the start of step 2, which is to assemble the various materials. In Lloyd's mind, the hot water vent will solve all the problems. It is not just an empty promise. Then Lloyd jumps off the cliff to collect the materials. In his mind, it is time to go. Organisms that live near the hydrothermal vents. The creature living near the hot water vent will provide all the necessary materials for this construction. There they are, the tube worms. For step 2.1, gather tube worm secretions for finishing and connecting. Lloyd was hit by the secretion of those worms. For step 2.2, gather tube worm shells for use as pipes. Lloyd was using all his strength that his veins were about to burst from pulling those tube worms. Strength plus his ugly face is a perfect combination. For step 3, connect the pipes and connect them to the hot water vent. For step 4, run the pipes through each room and paint them with, of course, paint. And adjust the pipe size to control the temperature of each room. Lloyd shouts as the sauna is almost finished. He said, and now, the most important part. What is the best part of the steam bath? It is the interior design. The first one is the emerald room. The second one is the coral room. And the last one is I don't know what the hell did he put in that room, but Lloyd called it the relaxation room. Maybe it is a different kind of relaxation room. Lloyd shouted, boom, bam, we're done. The #1 steam bath in the world. Lloyd asks, Mr. Rotulua, how do you feel about using the steam bath for the first time? Rotulua was already relaxing while waving his mermaid tail. Even though Lloyd keeps calling him, he didn't even reply. For Lloyd, with this the bait is now already done, and there is no doubt about it anymore. Javier asks, "So, are you going to start a project with this steam bath? Do you really need to earn more money?" With his devilish face, Lloyd replied, "Huh? No, I won't take any money. Money is nothing." It is the first time for Lloyd, who is using financial healing, not to mind about money. Javier remains silent because he knows that the mermaids are now doomed. In his mind, this strange feeling. Let's just take a moment of silence for the souls of the mermaids. In the northernmost ocean where glaciers can be found, there was a bird lurking in the air. But little did that bird know that there was a hidden creature beneath the ocean watching it pass by, waiting for the right moment. Then a sudden strong splash from the water was seen. It was a female mermaid who was able to jump so high and do a backflip. The bird was shocked to see that mermaid. That mermaid smiles and looks at the bird. Then she grabs it with her large biceps. That mermaid was Lodita. Then Lodita lands in the ocean where her fellow mermaids are cheering on her. At this time, the bird was drowning. Poor bird. The mermaids said, "Lodita broke the record again. I am sure that she will catch up to the moon with her tail muscles." Lodita starts flexing her muscles in her mind. Those were good times. I would gain tons of muscles when I exercised. I was the most attractive bachelorette in the neighborhood. But that was all in the past. Right now, Lodita was an old mermaid who could not do that stunt anymore. Then Lodita starts punching her shoulders. She said, "My shoulders are aching again. They are aching so much, my goodness." Then her husband, who was already shaking, told Lodita that she is so noisy. Lodita said, "Oh, you want to live in an eternally quiet place?" Her husband said, "Old woman, you are hearing things wrong again." Lodita told her husband that she will be going to exercise for a bit. Her husband said, "You are exercising too much, aren't you? Just exercise 3 times a day like me." Lodita replied, "My soul slowly dies off whenever I am resting." Lodita starts swimming while strolling the area. In her mind, "Actually, I am starting to wonder if I should stop exercising. But I cannot stop since I have exercised my whole life. If I could soothe some of these joint and muscle pains, then I could enjoy it a little more." Then she heard some noises in the area while she was strolling. It caught her attention. It was actually Lloyd, who was advertising his sauna, and he uses Javier as his mascot for the opening of the sauna and to bait the mermaids. Lloyd was saying, "Come one, come all. For this opening event, everything is free. For all the mermaids who are faced with joint and muscle pains. This is totally different from the hot chimney. Come have a warm and relaxing time in our 100% safe bathhouse." Many mermaids were in that area, creating a long line of waiting mermaids. Lloyd was continuously shouting, inviting everyone to come and warm up their body because it was all free. Lodita was curious about what she heard, so she started to look into it. In her mind, what did he just say? "I can safely warm my body up." Lodita looks at Lloyd with a disgusted expression on her face. In her mind, "I heard that humans are very crafty creatures. Is it really okay to believe that it is free? Look at how he is smiling effectively. He looks like a total scammer." But Lloyd doesn't just look like a total scammer because he is a real scammer who can make you cry with his contracts. But Lodita starts to change her opinion when she sees Javier. In her mind, no, he is together with such a handsome young man. There is no way he is a bad person. Come to think of it, there is nothing they can scam us with using a bathhouse. Lodita enters the bathhouse with a plan to just play along with the schemes of Lloyd. But after staying in there for a second, her expression changed. She felt a very good and relaxed feeling, like the time that she came back to her youth. Then Lodita slammed the door with a smile on her face. Her husband was shocked about it. Lodita said, "Old man, let's go to the bathhouse together. It is free for 1 week." After that, Lloyd welcomes them with a smile. He said, "You came back with your husband today? Please have a good rest." Then both Lodita and her husband were in there lying down and enjoying the sauna. Both of them felt like they had gone back to their youth as the pain in their bodies starts to slowly disappear. That cycle continued. Lloyd happily told Lodita, "Thank you for visiting us for 5 consecutive days. You both look so radiant." Both the husband and wife start flexing their muscles. And Lodita said, "You have no idea how energetic we are as we exercise together now." Lloyd replied, "Oh, that is such a great news. Just what happened to you?" All of them were shouting that they had become so energetic because of the bathhouse. Lloyd said, "Thank you. When all of you are happy, I am happy too. See you tomorrow and the day after at the bathhouse." A day passed by, and things changed instantly. If time changes so fast, the same can be said for the expressions of Lloyd Frontera. Lodita was speechless, witnessing Lloyd's 360-degree change in his expression. Lodita take a peek at the sauna where she wanted to relax, but it was fully closed. The door was fully locked, like there is some hidden treasures inside it. Lodita asks, "Why are the doors closed today?" Lloyd seriously replied, "The event is over. From now on, usage of the bathhouse is strictly for members only. Please sign up." Lloyd handed over to Lodita some papers saying that was the registration form. Lodita picks it up. In her mind, "What is this? I just need to sign up and I can continue using it." Lodita started reading it. The first term of the form is, "Our bathhouse strictly runs on a membership system. Non-members are not allowed to access or use the bathhouse." The second condition, depending on the status of the members, the longest time you can use the bathhouse for 12 hours. For Lodita, 12 hours in the bathhouse is more than sufficient. But both she and her husband start sweating after they continue reading the third condition. Lloyd started saying that third condition. He said, "For the third condition, when members use the bathhouse, they must pay a fixed fee. The fees aren't money, but instead labor. The hours of labor you need to provide are half of how long you use the bathhouse for. If you use the bathhouse for 6 hours, then you need to work for 3 hours. Your hours of labor must be fulfilled within 48 hours of using the bathhouse. For the first time you fail to fulfill the hours, you will be banned from the bathhouse for 10 days. The second time, it will be 30 days. The third time, your membership will be revoked." This made Lodita angry and called Lloyd a rotten scumbag. Then he grabs Lloyd by the collar and punches him in his handsome face. Lodita starts pointing her fingers at Lloyd. She angrily said, "How dare you order us, mermaids, who are greater beings, around? We have lived without the bathhouse so far. You stupid scammer, we just won't come here anymore." The other mermaids start to agree with what Lolita said. This poor scammer was holding his handsome face that was bleeding from that punch. Lloyd told all those mermaids that he would not force them to follow him, and in an instant, there is nothing left in the bathhouse. Lloyd starts fixing the table. Javier asks, "Did your plan fail?" Lloyd said, "Javier, you remember how you still managed to live without the lullaby before?" Javier starts thinking about it. On the other hand, Lodita starts punching her shoulder once again. She said, "Damn human, I knew he was up to no good. He must think we are pushovers." On the other hand, Lloyd was waiting until his plan started to sprout. He was just slowly fixing and waiting for things. On the other hand, Lodita starts punching his shoulder again and again. And it didn't end. She started punching her shoulder much stronger compared to before. But Lloyd was just continuously fixing things like he is some sort of super villain. Lloyd starts to sit and wait. In his mind, humans could live even if they didn't have cigarettes. Humans could live even if they didn't watch YouTube videos and start subscribing at the Akatsuki Weirdo channel. Humans could live even if they didn't play computer games. But that is before they get the taste of it. And Lloyd predicted all of that as he was known as the god of schemes. Lodita, together with other mermaids, goes back to where the sauna was located. Lodita's tears start to fall off from her eyes. She said, "Give me the registration form, you rotten scumbag." Lloyd slowly gives the registration form to them. Then he offers his hand like he is some sort of gatekeeper in hell. He asks, "Have you all decided?" After that, the sauna of Lloyd instantly become full of customers once again. The mermaids succumb to the relaxation effect of the sauna, and what was with them was the flashing watch attached in their wrist. As time passed by, the glow from the small octopus that was in the watch slowly faded, until the time that the lights turn off and the light octopus in there becomes malnourished. This is how capitalism works. Then this legendary guy entered like he was some sort of security guard, slamming the door. Lloyd looks at the merman and says, "Customer number 4, 12, and 13. Your time is up. I will see you tomorrow at the excavation site." Lodita could only look at Lloyd. In her mind, what a pesky human. I won't let him make a fool out of me. The bathhouse today will be the last day I will come here. The sun in the northernmost ocean started to rise, and there the devil welcomed them. Lloyd said, "Welcome. I am the site manager, Lloyd Frontera. Now, start digging." Lodita and the other muscular mermaids were shouting and used their strength to start digging the area where Lloyd ordered them to clear. After that, Lodita felt that her muscles were aching too much again. She starts punching his shoulders once again, thinking that she needs to relax her muscles once again. The day after that, Lloyd welcomes her once again with his serious face. He gives her the light watches the timer for the bathhouse usage. He said, "Welcome. I am the bathhouse manager Lloyd Frontera. I hope you have an enjoyable stay today as well." Then Lodita starts relaxing at the bathhouse once again. After that, Lloyd welcomes her as the site manager of the excavation site, and then welcomes her as the manager of the bathhouse once again. The cycle continues again and again. Lodita starts digging in the excavation site once again to enter the bathhouse, but she starts sweating when she notices something strange. For her, there is something wrong in her life. She felt like she had become a puppet completely controlled by pain and pleasure, pulling her up and then drowning her down. In her mind, I have to stop this. I have to. I must stop this vicious cycle. But when she was in the bathhouse, she succumbed to it and she doesn't want to stop it anymore. Lloyd was standing at the top of the cliff together with Javier and Rotulua. He smiled like a demon, knowing that his plan was progressing well. On the other hand, Rotulua started to sweat as he looked at the face of the person whose hands he had joined. Rotulua starts to get anxious because of it. In his mind, that demon. He is making use of us, mermen, as slaves, isn't he? Was I an accomplice in selling out my brethren? Lloyd asks him, "Do you feel like you have become the accomplice of a demon?" Then Lloyd's emotion changes like he was some sort of angel. He says, "We never forced anyone. Not even once, right?" Rotulua's expression suddenly changed looking at the face of Lloyd. But in the end, he realized that what Lloyd said was making sense and they did not force anyone to do that kind of job, and that is also for the better. Lloyd uses his skill to scan the area. In his mind, the mermen have dug up a lot with their crazy physical strength for 1 month. The ground's thickness has decreased quite a bit. Then he was alarmed when he noticed something while using his skill. He told everyone to stop digging. He notices that there is a square piece on the ground. That is why he hurriedly jumps down and runs to where the square piece is located. Then he hurriedly dug it down. After Lloyd digs, he notices something, blocks with unique designs. They were shocked to see what is below that soil. He said, "It exists. This is the place where the truth jewel was at." He was panting after the digging and still could not believe at what he saw. In his mind, I felt uneasy. What if it was just a legend? What if I really don't find anything? All the misery around me, what if I cannot stop that from happening? Lloyd bows down and feels good that his worries are slowly fading after finding the biggest lead to the solution to his problem. Lloyd smiled and said, "Great, let's start finding the blueprint." Javier just looked at his master who was happy. Lloyd called Rotulua and told him that it was time to find the blueprint, but Rotulua was bursting into tears. He said, "Father, it actually exists. I really thought it didn't exist." Hearing that, Lloyd said, "What did you just say? Never mind. Forget it. Just where is the blueprint?" Rotulua, who was still crying, started scanning the area. He said, "Based on my predecessor's records, we need to find it in the center of the jewel site. The blueprint is kept in magic storage and it should have a keyhole of sorts." Lloyd uses his skill and he was able to locate the keyhole to the blueprint easily. Rotulua and Lloyd look into it. Rotulua said, "I am sure of it. That is definitely a keyhole." Lloyd was confused. He said, "Huh? Wait a minute. If this is a keyhole, then where is the key?" Then suddenly, a strong wave was felt by all of them and it was resonating somewhere. Even Rotulua was being pushed by it. Rotulua said, "I was told that the keyhole would tell us where the key is. What is happening right now?" Lloyd looks to the place where the waves are resonating. It was resonating above them, so he followed where it was. In his mind, the keyhole will tell us the location of the key. Could it be? But looking deeply at it, the waves were resonating at the large octopus who was holding the whole Merman Kingdom. That octopus was crying because of pain. But because of the pain, the large octopus slowly loses his hold on the large kingdom of the mermaids. Lloyd shouted, "The key to the blueprint. Is it in the stomach of that thing?" The whole Merman Kingdom starts shaking because of it. King Ariel, together with other mermaids, starts moving. King Ariel said, "It is all over if that falls. Evacuate the people." The mermaid soldier said, "Fortunately, most of them are outside because of the work they have been doing for that human visitor." King Ariel was shocked and then she smiled. She said, "What? So that human is a good guy, huh?" On the other hand, this guy who was called by King Ariel the good guy is the main suspect in this incident. Lloyd asks Javier, "Is this because of me?" Javier told him that it was definitely his fault. Lloyd replied, "I was hoping you would say no." Javier grabs Lloyd and he says, "I will take care of the Merman Kingdom. You go and find the key, for the sake of the territory that you wish to protect so badly." Lloyd was silent after hearing that. Then Javier started spreading his wings to fly and he also grabbed Lloyd with him. King Ariel starts exhaling and shouting. She was preparing to catch the meteor that Madara had thrown at her. I mean, she was preparing to catch the whole kingdom before it plummets to the bottom. With all her might and strength, she was able to catch and push the kingdom little by little. But even the strongest king could not carry the whole kingdom. She starts cursing because the effort she put into is not working at all and the kingdom continuously plummet to the bottom. But she was suddenly confused that the burden carrying the whole kingdom started to lessen, and she looks at the person at her side. It was Javier who was helping her. King Ariel looked at Javier happily. She said, "I am truly thankful to you both, even if it was the fault of his master." With a straight face, Javier told King Ariel, "You're welcome." Lloyd's shamelessness has rubbed off on Javier. On the other hand, Lloyd was in front of this giant octopus who was crying like a baby. It was holding his mouth and was burping at some time. Seeing the reaction of this large octopus, in Lloyd's mind, those symptoms, I am sure of it. This is a very bad news. It is suffering from indigestion. The large octopus burped so forcefully that it pushed Lloyd away with its strong exhalation. The force was so powerful that it made it even more difficult for King Ariel and Javier to push the entire kingdom, which was being propelled by the strong air. Due to the movement of the giant octopus and the force of the wind, the entire sea shook, creating strong waves. Lloyd could only seek cover from the powerful water wind while pondering how to handle the situation. In his mind, for starters, if I don't treat that guy's indigestion, then we cannot do anything else. I had an indigestion before too. How did I recover from it? Back then it was father and mother. In the past, Kim Suho's father was taking care of him when he was sick. His father said, "My goodness, your indigestion is pretty severe, huh?" At this time, Kim Suho was lying down because of pain. He said, "It hurts. I want to puke, but it's not coming out." His father said, "Wait there. I will do something that will help you feel better right away." Kim Suho was panting while lying down and his father already returned. His father was holding a knife and he said, "Give me your finger. Poke with this." "Got it." Kim Suho started acting like a child. He said, "Dad, that is not poking. You're stabbing into it." His father smiled and showed him the needle. He said, "Come on, I was just joking. Give me your hand." Kim Suho replied, "Seriously, please don't joke at a time like this." His father starts poking his fingers and Kim Suho felt the pain in her fingers. His father said, "Oh my, look at how dark your blood is." His father asks him, "How do you feel right now? Better, right?" Kim Suho replied, "I don't know. It feels like I am better, but at the time, not really better." And Kim Suho starts burping. Hearing that made Kim Suho's father smile. He said, "See, you feel better, right?" Kim Suho told his father that he could not tell at all. Then Kim Suho's mother appeared. She said, "Darling, don't you watch television? They say that doesn't help." His father replied, "What? Really? This completely cured me when I was younger though." Then Kim Suho's mother started pushing her husband. She said, "Step aside. In times like this, you have to puke it all out to feel better." His mother starts touching his abdomen. She smiled and said, "My son, you trust me, right?" Kim Suho slowly opens his eyes and begins asking his mom what she is doing. However, his mom is already raising her arms and clenching her fists, poised for a full attack. With full strength, his mom smashes him in the stomach. Perhaps this is where Lloyd gains his brutality, which is from his own mother. With that strong and clear hit to his stomach, Lloyd is forced to vomit, expelling everything. Surprisingly, a rainbow emerges from his mouth. Going back, the large octopus continuously went wild because of the indigestion and the whole kingdom was already tilted and nearly on the bottom surface. Lloyd starts panicking. and a multitude of questions flood his mind. Is that how I got better back then? Would that work on an octopus? Are those methods legitimate? Will they work for sure? He remembers the time when his mother said, "How do you feel?" "My hands are like magical healing hands, aren't they?" "Oh, is it legitimate?" You are definitely a natural science student. Whether it is legitimate or not, you will have to experience it yourself. Then Lloyd starts shouting, calling at Javier. He said, "Javier, use Aura Blast on the end of the octopus tentacles." Made it weak enough so it won't pierce through it. Just a little bit. But at this time Javier's hand was full and he told Lloyd that his hands were too busy to do that. Then Lodita appeared, helping them push the Merman Kingdom. Together with her are the other mermaids in the kingdom and the victim of Lloyd's schemes. Lodita with all her might shouted, "Everyone charge!" Used the stamina training of heavy labor and the routine relaxation from the bathhouse. A lot of them were pushing and they managed to push through their whole kingdom before it sinks and hit the bottom. It also gives time for Javier to fly towards the large octopus to do what Lloyd orders him. He flew near the octopus to fulfill his tasks and get a good angle. After that, Javier charges and poses an attack stance, then releases multiple aura blasts aimed at the large octopus. Multiple aura blasts are approaching at every tentacle of the large octopus. And then it pricks down the tentacles of the large octopus. It stops from crying and starts burping. After seeing that hit, in Lloyd's mind, the usual way to do it is to tie up its tentacles before we prick them, but this should be enough to cause some changes. Whether it was surprised due to the pain or not, it burped, so we have cleared the stage 1. Then Lloyd shouted that it was time for the final hit. Then Lloyd starts summoning 3 of his Pokemons. It was Hamang, Bangle, and Podong. They are holding their breath in the water. Lloyd said, "Guys, because you are not in my clothes, you don't have the blessings of the necklace. Let's end this quickly." Podong and Bangle start to grab at Hamang. Then Hamang absorbs a lot of water. Hamang releases the water in his mouth to create a strong pressure and pushes them towards the octopus like a cannonball. They are so small, just like an ant, but are approaching the stomach of this large octopus at a faster rate. They are approaching near the stomach, and Lloyd takes this chance to aim and use his skill from his shovel. With all of his strength and power, Lloyd uses a blast that pushes them faster toward the stomach of that large octopus. And they rotate at a faster rate like a cannonball and hit the large octopus. With that strong impact, the octopus was able to burp everything and puke out all the causes of indigestion, making it more relaxed. In that large number of bubbles that come out in the mouth of the large octopus, there is also a seahorse-like trophy that seems to be the key to the blueprint. Javier grabs it. With that, Lloyd was happy that they got the key to the Truth Jewel blueprint. After the key came out from the stomach of the large octopus, he burped everything and the indigestion was cured. The octopus now felt the comfort. Lloyd, on the other hand, obtained a new title, which is the Sea Village Doctor. This skill allows Lloyd to freely breathe underwater. Then the large octopus goes back to its senses and starts looking for the whole kingdom under her care, which she starts to approach. Lloyd also gains a new special skill called Stomach Shot. He can now strike the stomach of any living being underwater and cause them to vomit everything they have in their stomach with one hit. The whole Merman Kingdom came back to the care of this large octopus. The mermaids start cheering because of it. Lloyd smiled as he raised the seahorse thing that Javier gave him. He said, "Nice. This definitely looks like the key of the jewel blueprint." Then King Ariel approaches Lloyd. She said, "Human visitor, Lloyd Frontera. On closer look, you have a manly face." Lloyd starts sweating after he hears that statement. Lloyd really attracts the monarch of a kingdom like Queen Alicia. King Ariel said, "The one who increased our strength and even protected our home." King Ariel shouted, "Hooray!" And then every mermaid starts cheering for Lloyd. As the crowds are cheering, a notification pops up. It says that a new race is unlocked. The ancient octopus and the Merman Kingdom have accepted Lloyd as their true friend. He also receives a bonus RP. The system told Lloyd that he still receives a lot of rewards even though he was the main cause of the problem to begin with. But Lloyd, on the other hand, starts raising his hands, accepting their praises. The system and Lloyd start having a conversation in Lloyd's head. The system said, "Wow, you have zero conscience." Lloyd replied, "Oh, conscience? What is wrong?" The system replied, "I mean, you just make it seem like you had no fault in this." Lloyd said, "Say what? I really have no idea what you were talking about. In any case, it could have been really tough this time around." The system asks, "What are you suddenly talking about?" Lloyd replied, "I didn't know what to do, but I was only able to try out different methods thanks to what my father and mother did for me. I am truly grateful to them." Then Lloyd starts reading what the system replies. The system said, "If that is what you think, then I am sure your parents will be even more thankful to you, won't they?" After that, Lloyd remains silent for a while. Then Lloyd said, "You just crossed a line. Could you not say stuff like that when I am feeling good? They have already passed away. How could they be thankful towards me?" The system said, "Oh, it looks like you are really angry." Lloyd replied, "Yes, since hearing you say that sentence, my head has become filled with regrets of not being able to do more for them." Lloyd starts mumbling. He said, "I won't look back. I must focus only on protecting my current family." Lloyd walks towards the keyhole and puts the key on it. Then a sudden bright light appeared that shines the whole area. Then a large projectile appeared within that light that shows the whole blueprint of the Jewel of Truth. Lloyd was confused after looking at the projection. In his mind, "What is that? That looks exactly like the Goguryeo General's tomb, doesn't it? A building that narrows the higher it is built so it can withstand a certain weight, which is also known as a type of pyramid." The notification told Lloyd to scan the blueprint and save the information about Etiaroa, the Truth Jewel. He uses scan and a result came out, so he wants to take a greater look. Then a notification pops up about the list of core materials. Lloyd was shocked. In his mind, "What? What is this? Do we need to get materials?" The system said, "The first core material. Will you view the record of Tauranga?" Lloyd, with his very fast hands, starts pointing his fingers everywhere. Since Lloyd can only see the system, Rotulua whispers to Javier and asks, "What is he doing? Has he lost his mind?" With a serious face, Javier replied, "No, he had already lost his mind from the start. He can't lose it again." I agree with what Javier said. This bastard was crazy and no one can beat him in that aspect. Lloyd looks at the notification of the system. Lloyd grits his teeth because he feels annoyed. He said, "I thought I was already done here." He starts to walk away and he said, "Let's move, Javier. We are short on time." Javier asks, "Where are we going this time?" Lloyd replied, "To the Magentano Palace. The Tauranga, one of the core materials, can be found there." On the other hand, in the Magentano Kingdom, Queen Alicia was sitting in her office with a pile of paperwork. The poison in her body started to act once again, and she was doing her best to control it, which made her end up panting so much while resisting it. She took off the gloves from her hands after being hit by the poison. Her hands were shaking, and the veins were popping out with different colors due to the poison. She starts to ask, "Just how much more do I need to gather?" She starts to gather her courage and starts clenching her fist. In her mind, "No, I must not become weak. It is not far now. I can do this. I am the queen, the strongest person in this country." Then one of the queen's aide knocks on her office. He said, "Your Highness, I would like to report on the trade organization agenda with the southern countries." Queen Alicia put on her gloves and told one of her aides that he could now enter. Her courtier said, "Forgive me, but they have formed an alliance and have ignored all negotiations made from our end. They have only made such unreasonable requests from us." Queen Alicia asks him, "What does he mean?" The courtier said that even the other countries are slowly starting to propose troublesome conditions. This made the queen become so serious. In her mind, could it be because of that? The banquet that we held to show the world about the Magentano's prowess. Our reputation was damaged due to the commotion caused by the bone dragon. Although we have told them that the bone dragon has been subdued, they think that we are lying because no corpse was shown. At this rate, someone from among the nobles will start to challenge my authority. Political strife will cause our authority on the global level to drop. I don't see what I can do about this right now. Can we overcome this? I must not be weak. I am the queen. The queen must not be weak. Then an attendant said, "Your Highness, Lloyd Frontera has requested for an audience." Hearing that made Queen Alicia's eyes widen. Then she starts running so fast like a wife who is waiting for her husband that she misses so much. Even her attendant starts calling her out. She ran so fast along the large hallway of the castle until she saw a glimpse of the handsome face of Lloyd Frontera, the face that can scare a demon and cause a declaration of war because of its ugliness. Seeing the face of Lloyd made Queen Alicia surprised. In her mind, Lloyd, that annoying human. The human that's already escaped my grasp. The human that does whatever he wants. Without a single doubt, Queen Alicia runs and hugs Lloyd Frontera like they were in a Korean drama. She was thinking that Lloyd was the human that she needed the most right now. Lloyd started sweating and was confused as to why the Queen was hugging him like that. The Queen hugs Lloyd even tighter. Lloyd asks, "Your Highness, what are you doing?" But Queen Alicia was sweating at that time, and everything that happens is just in her imagination. She goes back to her senses after Lloyd starts calling her. What was in front of her was Lloyd and Javier bowing down to her presence. Queen Alicia asks, "Oh, what did you just say?" Lloyd replied, "It is nothing. I had greeted but you didn't say anything, so I was just calling out to you again." Lloyd starts looking at the Queen. In his mind, why was she running so quickly? It is impossible for her to miss me that much. Queen Alicia was confused from the looks of Lloyd. Then the Queen begins to grow angry for an unknown reason. Javier starts sweating because, as someone who is a heartthrob, he recognizes the expression Queen Alicia is displaying. It resembles the expression of the girls who show affection towards him. Finally, the ship is now sailing to a better end. Javier hurriedly looks at Lloyd, and the looks of Lloyd seems like doesn't care or who has no idea about the whole situation. Then he hurriedly looks back at the Queen. Javier was shocked and started sweating profusely. His body began to tremble uncontrollably as he struggled to believe what was happening. In his mind, he exclaimed, "What? What the hell? This is even more unbelievable than telling me Kim Suho will become an archangel." Yeah, it's impossible for this devil to become an archangel, but it's even more impossible for someone to be in love with this ugly bastard like Lloyd, who has a legendary ugly face that can even threaten a death knight. Going back, Queen Alicia asks, "So, what do you need from me?" Lloyd replied, "Please excuse me, Your Highness. I would like to take a few pillars under the palace." After hearing that, the Queen was speechless. Lloyd smiled and said, "In return for taking a few pillars, I will quickly settle the problems you have with surrounding countries just for you." Hearing that, the Queen was shocked. Now the greatest negotiator is ready to put her hands on the political problems of the kingdom.